What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Darren?
Hey, how are you? Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back to another off-topic episode.
Yes.
Our favorite thing of the month.
Yes.
We have two. One is going to be on your channel. We have a very special guest on your channel later in the month.
Yes, we do.
Very excited for that.
Me too.
I think everyone will enjoy it very much. Probably not as much as we'll enjoy it, though.
True. True. But still, you guys will like it.
Yeah, they will.
Or him, I guess.
So what's that?
I would say it's him, not it, but yes. I
Yeah.
said you guys will like it, but I think you'll like him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great guy. So I wanted to talk today about, a lot of the times I spent a lot of time talking about quality versus quantity. I think that's a really interesting discussion. But the thing I wanted to ask you about today is iconic versus rare.
Okay.
Because, you're an econ major, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got your business education. I took a lot of econ, and it's like, is supply more important or demand more important? Well, they're both important,
They're both important. Yeah.
but depending on what it is, the demand might be more important than the supply, or vice versa. Like there, and when it comes to something like collecting cards, a lot of it is going to be a person to person thing. Like, there are some people who want to go out and buy, an 88 tops Don Mattingly, and that's great. But the price is pretty low because there's not a huge demand and there is a large supply.
Yep.
So my question in that vein is for your collecting, are you more of a guy, because I think you're a self-proclaimed collector of iconic cards. Is it more important that a card is iconic, or is it more important that a card is rare? And has that changed? And where was it and where is it now? What are your thoughts?
Um, Good question. I would say that it's changed. It used to be more iconic, right? I would when I first got back into collecting, I really wanted to pick up the iconic cards, right? And these are cards that, you know, at the time I probably defined as iconic as when you would, buy books about vintage card collecting, or you would, go to websites about it. The cards they used on the cover of the book, or the cards they used like in the, like, top bar of the web page, or the super iconic stuff, right? Like a Gaddy Ruth, 52 tops, um, you know, rookie cards of the, top Hall of Famers, especially from the golden era. That's kind of what I would define as iconic when I first got back into the hobby, and that was where my focus was at for a while.
And and
Then,
and, and let me just
mhm,
interject real quickly. And looking over your shoulder in one of your cases, there are cards like the 86 top traded Bo Jackson and Barry Bonds, and there's an
yep,
84 Fleer update Clemens, and there's an 84 tops Mattingly. So it wasn't just and those are all iconic cards.
mhm,
There, it just those weren't necessarily the old ones; they
right,
were more recent ones. So you were definitely all about iconic. And those cards that I just mentioned, another card I see over your shoulder is the Griffey Upper Deck. Those are all iconic. None of those are rare. So just
correct.
just saying that for people listening, uh, that is sort of, part of the story of Darren's return to collecting. So
Yes.
sorry for interrupting.
No,
Carry
no,
on.
no, no. I appreciate that. You actually made a good point, because I look at I typically will look at three different kind of cards: iconic, rare, or nostalgic, right?
Mm.
So I'll buy a card because it's iconic. I'll buy a card because it's rare, but also buy a card because it's nostalgic. And the ones you just mentioned, for the most part, are fairly common to find. They're not super expensive. Um, you know, any of the ones you just mentioned, if you pick them up in like a grade of an 8, you know, 15, 20, $30, I think. I have no idea, but I'm assuming it's in that range, maybe less. Um, So I like to buy cards for those. Basically, I like to buy those three types of cards. Um, when I first started out, I went with iconic and a little mix of iconic and nostalgic, I guess. From my perspective, a lot of the nostalgic cards I bought weren't that expensive. So as I was buying cards that I felt were iconic cards, I would also, say, oh wait, you know what? I like this card when I was a kid. I had it in my collection. I'm gonna go buy one because I don't know where all my cards are from when I was a kid. I don't think they're thrown away, so that's good. Um, and then more recently, I started shifting more to rare, and I think that has a lot to do with my dad's influence on my collecting.
Mhm.
Really old he likes really old stuff, right? He collects Willie Keeler cards, but he likes cards from basically like the 1870s through the start of World War One, right? That's
Mhm.
his thing. So he he's really big into that. He picked me up a couple cards that pre 1900, and I really started getting more into the rare cards because of that influence. Um, I picked up some rare cards recently. And now for me, rare, I mean, there's some guys that say, hey, if there's three different backs to a certain card, right? And two of them have, you know, 10 copies known, and one has three copies known. The three copy one's rare and the other two aren't that rare. For me, if it's true rarity, then I would say less than, you know, 2025 in existence for me, I would say is rare, and I'm interested in picking those cards up. When I say true rarity, I guess I want to just clarify what I mean by that. I like things that are rare because they're quote, I guess I would say like naturally scarce. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They might have made 100 of them 110 years ago, and over time, 60 of them were destroyed. So there's 12 or 20, 12, there's 20 remaining. Um, you know, did I say 80 or 100? I can't remember, but I think I said 100. So there's 40 remaining. I know how to do math. To me, that's rare, right? What I personally don't necessarily think of rare is manufactured scarcity.
Mhm.
And by that, I mean, when you buy a pack of cards that's new that says, okay, I bought a card, and on the card it says, this is number 17 out of 25, right? That is rare. I'm not saying it's not rare, but when I think of rare for my collection and how I purchase and how I spend my money, my focus is more on the like naturally scarce stuff as opposed to the manufactured scarce stuff.
So do you think you said that it used to be more about iconic cards, and now for you it's more about truly rare cards? And everyone's different. I mean, the term rare is very,
Yeah.
I mean, a hundred of something to some people might be rare, but to some people, if there's more than five, it's not rare. So it's
Mhm.
definitely a term that could be used depending on your situation and what it is you're talking about.
Right.
But a scarce card, a card that isn't a card that I can't go to the local card show and run across, a card that in the national there might be three of in the
Right.
whole building is a relatively rare card. And so what you're telling me, and again, we haven't talked about this. I'm asking you for the first time. uh, you used to be more about iconic, recognizable cards, Hank Aaron rookie card, Roberto Clemente rookie card, stuff like that. And now it's more about rare than it is about recognizable. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part, I think I was when I first got I mean, not even when I first got back in there, for the last, you know, 4 or 5 years, it was iconic and nostalgic and not much rare, very little rare. Um, Now I think it's more most of the nostalgia cards I picked up. So now it's more of rare and iconic. And I would say that it's probably about 50-50. So, you know, for me, that's a paradigm shift, right? Because it was before, it was like nothing, right? I didn't buy cards that I never really bought cards that I had never seen or heard of before. And then now that I'm learning more about a lot of these pre-war sets, then I'm more open to picking up these cards, right? Like and it's not why I buy them, but I guess the way I look at it is when I have somebody that comes over that might have collected when they were a kid and has some understanding of vintage. If I show them a card and they say, "Oh yeah, I know that card,"
Yeah,
that's more to me like an iconic card. Or if I show them a
for
card and they
sure.
said, "Okay, Ty Cobb," well, I don't even know what that card is though. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's different, right? That's more of like it's doesn't have, it could be rare, not rare, but like the cards I buy that are like that, they're more. I pick those specific ones that are more rare than not.
Now, it so there are a lot of people who collect for the joy of owning something that makes them happy. And
Hmm.
then there are a lot of people who buy cards because they see it as an asset class
Hmm.
that has upward potential.
Hmm.
And then there are people where they fall into each category with some amount. So a lot of people that might be listening and a lot of people that might be buying cards, um, they might care about the values, and that again, that's not everyone, but a
Right.
lot of people, at least that's part of the equation as to what interests them. With
Hmm.
that said, if you were to look forward, is it the rarer cards or is it the more iconic cards that you think are the better from a investment standpoint, that are the better place to put money?
It's a good question. So first, I don't think, and I'm going to answer your question. So I don't think I'm taking a. I'm not going off topic.
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't think cards are an investment at all. I think that if you buy them with the you know thought of selling them for more money at some point, and that's why you're buying them, I would say that's in this case it's gambling. I like um, Mr. Mangini, the president's position on this. If you want to build $1 million card collection, buy $3 million worth of cards, right? And that holds true, right? I think there's no card that anyone could say, "Hey, with absolute certainty, you could sell it for more in the future than you could buy it for now," right? People could assume they could, I see videos all the time of people saying, "Hey, here's the top 5 cards, for the NBA or for this year. Here's next year's top NFL cards or whatever." And that's cool, right? Because it's from my perspective, they're doing that from an entertainment standpoint. They're not doing it from an investment standpoint because it's it's not an investment, right? I mean, people could buy cards saying it's an investment, and I think that back to your question, you originally brought up the whole supply demand thing, right?
Yeah.
So when from my perspective, value comes from supply and demand coming out of equilibrium, right?
Hmm.
So if it's an iconic card that everybody knows, then that to me goes up and potentially could go up in value because demand comes out of equilibrium. Demand goes up, right? Because hey, like a 52 tops mantle, there's there's a lot of them out there. You can go on
Not, yeah,
eBay.
not a rare card.
Yeah, you go on eBay anytime. There's a ton for sale, but the demand is so high for that card, the price keeps going up, right? And then you have other cards like, um, the in the new Heritage auction, there's a Bryce Williams Cy Young and a 5 in the new Heritage auction, or in the auction coming up soon with Heritage. To me, that's a supply comes out of equilibrium for something like that, right? Where it's not outside of people that are like hardcore vintage baseball card collectors. You know, it's not a super known card. And I'm not saying that it's that people don't know about it. Obviously, probably half the people that collect vintage on YouTube know what that card is. But I think, when you look at a larger population of people that collect, they might not know what that card is, right? Because it's not a super iconic card from the definition of it's a famous iconic card, right? So to me, that one will probably go up in value potentially because the supply is out of whack. There's just really not that many. I think they're not great. There might be one, right? So um, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it. If you want to buy cards as an investment, I would recommend not doing it because it's, to me, it's way easier to pick a stock than it is to pick a card, right? Because when you're buying a card, you're literally buying something that only goes up in value if someone else wants it. It has like zero intrinsic value, right? A slab card is, you know, 3 cents of plastic and paper.
Right. Now, I mean, I'm just pulling up as you're talking here. We were talking about the Mickey Mantle not being a rare card. So PSA's pop report has it as 1,630 in PSA slabs. I'm sure several of those have been cracked and resubmitted. So it's probably, I don't know, 1,300, not 1,630 or so of them that are in PSA slabs. I'm sure there are some in SGC slabs as well. So I mean, there's well over 1,000 of them, probably closer to maybe 2 or 3,000. 52 mantles. That's not particular. That's not something I would even consider rare, but it is sort of the ultimate of iconic.
Right.
Um, Versus, if we look at that card and you go, okay, well, how about that card when it's uh, autographed? The PSA pop report of that card autographed 17.
Right. And
So
or you could say in a Gem and 10, right? There's three.
that's grade rarity, right?
Right.
There's
But
grade
I mean,
rarity, so condition rarity, there's total rarity, there's autographed rarity. Do you think because it does feel like there has been a push recently toward autographed cards. And what I feel like, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, but I feel like the reason that there's a push for plain days cards autographed is because it takes something that's not particularly rare, like, and I'm just going to pull up an example here. So I'm going 1955 tops, and I'm going to look up the Sandy Koufax and see what the Sandy Koufax is in 1955 tops as the total PSA pop report. So 9,240 Sandy Koufaxes in the 55 tops have been PSA graded. So again, a lot of those have been cracked and resubmitted. Let's call it, I don't know, 8,000, 8,500. But autographed, there are only, hold on, let me pull it up. I'm almost there. Autographed, there are 249.
mm,
Now, another thing that I think is interesting, and I want to talk about plain days cards autographed with you,
mm,
because I think what that is it's the blend. It's the blend of iconic, but also has an element of rarity to it.
mm.
The autograph, there's 240, 249. Now, even more interesting to me is out of this whole set, and I'm just scrolling through, there's only one other guy who has over 100 autographed cards in the 55 tops set, and that's Harmon Killebrew. So Harmon Killebrew has 102 autographed PSA certified 55 tops, and Koufax has 249. Now, a lot of these guys are dead. And so I would be curious how many of those 249 have happened in the last 5 years? Probably a lot of them.
Mhm.
So, do you think that autographed playing days cards are the way to make a not rare card rare-ish?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes and no. Yes, because obviously by having it autographed, it becomes rare because, like you said, there's just much fewer of them. But at the same time, too, for the longest time, autograph cards were viewed as basically taking a good card and messing it up with an autograph, right? Right now, it's it's very popular recently to get autograph playing days cards, but if that trend reverses, 5, 10 years from now, then it's not. Even though there's fewer of them, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be more valuable, right? It goes back to the whole demand thing, right? People didn't want autograph cards for the longest time, so it didn't matter how few there were. Nobody wants them. You know, shifting that demand curve the other way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I went to a lot of card shows as a kid, and there were a lot of autograph signers, and I have pictures of a lot of them because I didn't pay to get autographs. What I did is I sat over there with my little camera and took pictures of the guys.
Hmm.
And guys like Harmon Killebrew, he signed a lot,
Hmm.
and Al Kaline, he signed a ton. But Al Kaline has a population of 41. So uh 7 times that is how many Kofaxes there are. That tells me that a lot of the Kofax ones happened recently. Because otherwise, and some people say, well, no, it's just because it's his rookie. Maybe. Jackie Robinson, 17. 17. I mean,
Hmm.
that's more of a telling thing. And I mean, do you think as we look forward, that's a way to take a common card and make it scarce and have demand because they held it, then and they it has an element to it that it doesn't. Because what I feel like now is like a guy like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? Still alive, still signing at shows fairly regularly. It might be
Hmm.
once or twice a year, but a lot of them. So a lot of his rookie cards are now signed. Whereas a guy like a Wilt Chamberlain, not so much because he died before that became more in vogue. So what I feel like is happening now is people who are getting Kareem ones to make it rare because now the rookie card's not really rare. To have one autographed isn't really rare. The way people are trying to make it rare is with different inscriptions. So it's like
Hmm.
this one has this many MVPs or this the Hall of Fame year, or it has all of his career stats. Are we just getting carried away by trying to add something to make it extra rare? And in reality, what we're doing is just kind of taking away from the card itself.
I think so. I mean, I have a Nolan Ryan. I have a 69 Nolan Ryan that's got a bunch of inscriptions. I think it's super cool, but I bought it specifically because I like the inscriptions, right? I didn't buy it because I thought it was going to go up in value. I think that, to be honest with you, if you have an autographed card from somebody who passed away before it was in vogue, then you have natural scarcity going back to this point. Whereas if you have cards now and you get them signed by people that are still alive with the intention of saying, hey, I've made this card rare, I've made my Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rookie rarer because I had him sign it while this was in vogue. To me, that, if you're doing it for that reason, it's to me that's somewhat manufactured rarity, right? Like if you get a Jackie Robinson signed card, that's great because when he passed away, before autograph cards were like popular, right? So that's true scarcity, right? Versus if you get it signed by someone today, to me that's very similar. Um, is like cracking a box of modern cards and getting like a Paul Skeens signed card, right? It was created specifically for the it was created to be manufactured rarity, right? Like it was not done because somebody wanted it done because they said, hey, this is really cool. They wanted it done because, hey, I could take something and I think I could tweak it to make it more valuable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at Julius Irving. Okay, Julius Irving signs a lot,
Mm.
and 5,700 uh, of his card have been slabbed by PSA. But if you look at the autographed ones are 562. Now, if you go on eBay right now and you type in 1972 Julius Erving, you're going to see a lot of them available, and you're going to see a lot of autographed ones available. And then a lot of the autographed ones are going to say Dr. J, and then a lot of them are going to say all these other things. I am personally, I didn't again, growing up, I remember being at the first card show I ever went to. It was, I remember the table that I walked up to and where the table was. And there was an autographed Ozzie Smith rookie card. And I'm like, I can't believe they ruined the card, to the point where, like, I think I went and got my dad and said, Dad, look what they did to that card. They got it
Right.
autographed by Ozzie Smith.
Right.
And that is just what the belief was. And now, personally, I think it's cool. And I also think, again, 562 that's a lot of autographed ones. But there's 5,700 total. So 10% of the Dr. J rookie cards that have been graded by PSA have been autographed. 10%. That's enormously high number.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Now, is it to the point where it's going to make the non-autographed ones more valuable? I don't think so. But I do think it's an interesting thing, especially with a guy like a Babe Ruth or Jackie Robinson or a Mickey Mantle. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. I agree with that. Right. I think, I've seen a few like 33 Gaudy Ruth signed by Ruth. I think that's super cool. Right.
Yeah.
To me, that again, though, that's natural scarcity, right? There's not,
Yeah.
I mean, the card's not like, they're not super, super rare. The Gaudy Ruths unsigned, they're not super rare. They're not super plentiful either. But then having him sign it back then, back then people wanted balls signed, right? So,
Yeah.
or just like a piece of paper you happen to have on you. Okay, can you sign this, right? So,
Yeah.
the card is super rare. And I think that, and I do think that's super cool, right? Like a 33 Gaudy Gehrig sign, I think is super cool. But I feel like as you come more and more modern with those cards, when I say modern, I mean like, post World War II. To me, it's interesting, but it's not something like, if I wanted an autograph, I don't have a Jackie Robinson autograph. If I buy one, it'll probably either be a cut or a piece, or sorry, a cut or a ball, right? I probably wouldn't buy a Jackie Robinson signed card. I would probably buy the cards of his that I don't have that I want, and then buy an autograph separately. But
Why?
that's just me.
Yeah.
Um,
Why?
for those cards, I just like the look of the card, and then I like, if I like his autograph, so I could have, both. But I feel like if I bought the autograph card, I'd pay a huge premium for it, and 20 years from now, I might not like it being signed on the card versus having a separate autograph on a ball or something. But again, that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of guys that love buying autograph cards, and that's their thing, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think everybody should collect what they enjoy collecting, right? So
I had
I'm
somebody
not
ask me.
saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, me personally, I probably wouldn't go in that direction per se.
Yeah. Well, I remember somebody asking me a few months ago. They said, because my card was always the Ernie 54 Tops Ernie Banks,
Mhm.
and somebody said, uh, "Would you rather have one autographed than the one that you have?" And I kind of thought about it for a minute, and I was like, and I answered the question, and I don't remember how I answered it. It was like 6 months ago, but I do remember the question. And my brain goes to, I always wanted that card, and I always had in my mind a vision of what it would look like,
Mhm.
and it didn't include an autograph.
Yep.
So what I envisioned myself longing for, was this thing that looked a certain way. Like the one that I found at the National, you were there. If that card was in an SGC holder, I mean, this is ridiculous. But if it was the exact same card and it was in an SGC holder, I wouldn't have bought it. And the reason I wouldn't have bought it is because when I was a kid, I only would have bought in a PSA holder. And so I envisioned buying
Mhm.
one that looked a certain way and it was in a PSA holder. It wasn't in
Mhm.
an SGC holder. And so I wanted to accomplish that thing that I had envisioned versus one that was autographed or one that was in an SGC holder. It didn't look like it, even if it's the same card. So my thing is do I want an autographed Ernie Banks rookie card? Heck yeah. Of course I want one of those. But I don't think I want it instead. I want it in addition to. It's a
Okay,
to
I can see
me,
that.
to me it's a different thing. It's a very cool thing that is different than this other cool thing,
Mhm.
even though they have a lot of similarities. So to me, it's almost like collecting a whole new lane. Instead of being in this lane, you're in this lane, and both lanes are very cool. But
Yeah.
I want some things in this lane. Like I had never really, and I also we grew up in a time where there wasn't a way to research autographs. You couldn't go online and compare them. You
Mhm.
couldn't go, is that really it? You just assumed that any card that was autographed that you didn't see get autographed was just fake. You just assumed that. So it was not
Right.
really something that people would do. But I think that that's changed. I think with pen pressures, with the way that they can research them and look at certain little elements to them, they're obviously not going to be perfect, but they're going to be pretty good.
Mhm.
And so you have pretty high confidence that it's legit.
Mhm.
And so I had to kind of, in my mind, I had to kind of disassemble the thought process of not buying an autograph unless I saw it get autographed. And now I've gotten all the way to the point where I can buy a card that wasn't autographed in front of me and be totally cool with it. And I didn't used to be that way. And
Mhm.
that took a lot of evolution in my thinking and experiences to get to that point.
And that makes
I d-
sense. I mean, I totally get I totally get that, right? There's like kind of two pieces to that, right? There's the how comfortable am I that the autograph's real because I wasn't there when it got signed. I totally understand that. But then, like you said, there's the kind of the two-lane thing of I have I want the card, I love the card, but it would also be cool to also have the card signed. So that when I said the whole Jackie Robinson thing, if I had the card, that's a good point, right? If I had a 55, hypothetically, because I think that's what you're asking, if I had a
yeah,
55 top Jackie Robinson in the eye appeal that I wanted, and then picked up a kind of lower eye appeal card, but that was signed by him
yeah,
as well, I'm
yeah,
cool with that.
yeah,
I just know that, when I pull my cards out and look at them, I like kind of looking at the clean card the way that it's supposed to look, right? Like my 69 Ryan, it's right
I
here.
see it. Yeah,
That's the one that's signed and has all the inscriptions on it. But I also have the same card super clean, right? And that's not in the case, that's at the bank. But it so I'm cool with that. I'm cool having the autograph card as well. I just if I only had one of the card, I'd prefer it to be kind of the original look and have the autograph separate.
now you have a lot of autographs, and yes, we've gotten off topic to the point that we're now talking about autographs, but here we are. You have a lot of autographs,
Mhm.
and you have a lot of big autographs. What autographs in your collection were you there when they got signed? He's
None.
thinking. Now I know of one. I know of one that you have. It's downstairs.
Oh shoot, yes, I wasn't thinking about my jersey. So yes, I have one. I have my Gossage jersey. I was there when he signed it. Other than that, I was not. Like I've got a picture of my dad, my brother, and I with Reggie at the National 2 years ago. I wasn't physically there when it got signed, but my buddy who's friends with Reggie was. He got to sign for us. So that one I know is real because he was there and he took it from Reggie and sent it to me, right? So
Right.
that one I'm super comfortable with.
Can we in case people haven't heard this story, can you just tell us the Gossage story real quick? You've told it
Sure.
to me a couple of times, and I've heard you sell it on your channel, but it never gets old. If you
Okay.
just tell us, if you're just listening, you've got to hear this story. Go
Okay.
for it.
So Gossage, I live in Colorado. Gossage is from here. So my two of my buddies and I, we went to a steakhouse for dinner, and while we were eating, we saw Goose at the bar, and both of my buddies I was with personally know him. Right, they're friends with a bunch of retired baseball players, and through that group, they know Goose. So we went over and they introduced me to him, and we were chatting with him at the bar, and we had a drink with them, and then he said, "Hey, do you guys want to come back to the house and hang out?" So I was like, "Whoa, this is cool." So went back to Goose's
So
house.
Goose Gossage
Yeah.
invites you to his house, okay?
Mhm.
And how inebriated is Goose at this point?
I don't think he was yet.
Okay. All
So
right.
he, yeah, so he, so we get to his house, and yeah, we had some drinks and we're hanging out, and it was a good time. He actually he asked us if any of us wanted to catch, well, for him, and my buddy who had a couple of drinks, like, yeah, I will. So we go in the backyard, and Goose lives
So
in a park.
Goose Gossage says, "Anybody want to catch me as I throw a few?"
Yes.
And your buddy says yes.
Yeah, my buddy said yes. So he lives in a part of town that like the people that live, like especially like on his street in his area, they're horse properties. They're not massive acreage, but they're probably like an acre wide, but like multiple acres deep, right? So
Mhm.
he's got a deep backyard. So he walked back in the backyard. It's dark out, it's nighttime. So he kind of almost like disappeared in the darkness. And my buddy put on a catcher's mitt that Goose had at the house. And he's like, all right, get down. I'm gonna pitch. So he did. And me and my other buddy, the one not the one catching, we're like, is this smart? Is this a safe move here? And my buddy's like, all right, come on, Goose. Let's have it. And I hear a grunt in the darkness, and then like about a second later, I heard this super loud pop as the ball hit the glove, and my buddy was like, "Yo, you're out of your mind! I didn't think you were gonna like throw one like 90 something miles an hour, maybe high 80s at this point." He was very accurate, which was very good because if he wasn't, that could have been very painful for my buddy. But yeah, so he caught one, and he's like, "Nope, I'm done." So then we go back in the house, and um, on his dining room table, he had so Goose is a super nice guy. People will send him requests for autographs and he'll send it to him, right? Like on his table, he had boxes of balls and hats and photographs of himself that he just signs and sends to people when they ask for it. And I asked him, I said, look, do you charge for this? He's like, no. I'm like, so if somebody sends you a request and says, hey, can you send me 5 autographed balls? You'll buy the balls, sign them, and then you'll pay to ship them to them. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, if they ask for more than one, they're probably going to sell it, right? And he said, yeah, but to me, the cost of the balls and the cost of shipping, it's nothing, right? But for that person, I don't know their financial situation. They could be struggling. And if they could sell those and they could help put food on the table for their families, like, I'm going to do it. So I'm like, oh, that's super sweet of you, right? Super nice guy. So then
Yeah.
I'm like, that's awesome, man. Like that's really cool. So he said, do you want me to sign something for you? And I said, you know what? I said, I would love to, but my dad's huge Yankees fan. Can you sign a hat to him? Right. Uh, Dear Steve, to the world's best Yankees fan, Goose Gossage. And he's like, I'm offering it up to you and you want to give it to your dad. I'm like, yeah, because I would love it, but I think he would love it more. And he said, that's super cool. So he signed the hat for my dad. and then went in, like walked right past us and went into his bedroom. And he was in there for a minute, and we're like, "What's he doing?" He comes out with his minor league Iowa Oaks jersey,
Okay, so
and
let me just let's just hit pause really quick. So you're at Goose Gossage's house. He says, "Can I sign something for you?" You say, "I'd rather you sign it for my dad because he'd like it more." He says, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool." So he signs the hat for you, leaves the room, and comes back with his own minor league jersey from the
yeah,
back
his,
room.
yeah, his minor league. I'm sure he has a few of them, but one of his Iowa Oaks minor league jerseys. And then yeah, on that he signed it to Darren, you the man, Goose Gossage.
So
So that's what I've got hanging up in the basement.
you have
And
a
yes,
Goose Gossage
I saw
minor
it get
league
signed.
uniform from from his personal collection that he signed in front of you at his house.
Yes.
That is just insanity.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And I've actually gotten to see that in person. In fact, I had forgotten about the story because you told it on your channel once, and I had forgotten about it. And when I was at your house and I was looking at a bunch of your cards and stuff and looking at your autographs on the wall, I was like, "What's this?" And then you retold me the story, and I was just like, "That is just wild, wild." So that's the only one you've seen. That's the only one you've seen signed.
I'm just looking around. Yeah, that's it. Everything else I purchased
Yeah. So you've
or
not gone
received
to a
as
card
gifts.
show. You've not gone to a card show and gotten an autograph and waited in line and got it signed.
No, and I probably never will. I have an issue that my family can attest that I have an issue with patience.
Mm,
I hate waiting in lines. I literally, I despise it. Like I literally was about to have a panic attack, I think, at the National because I paid to get the VIP pass and I still had to wait in line for like 90 minutes to pick it up. I was
hmm
freaking out. Luckily, the guy in front of me in line watched my channel, so he turned around and started chatting with me. So I had somebody to talk to. But I hate waiting in lines. Like when we go places like when we go to like an amusement park, um, I buy the whatever the fast pass deal is at all of them. Like I just don't like waiting in lines. Like when I my status on my airline dropped a level, so I don't get to pre-board. I have to board in group one, and it's like every time I do it, like I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. So I'm watching people board before me. Like I just don't like waiting in line, so I will never wait in line for an autograph. I mean, literally, if it was Nolan Ryan, I still wouldn't wait in line. I would do what
Wow.
I did with my other Nolan Ryan autograph. I would make a donation to his charity and send him something and ask him to sign it. So I actually forgot. I've got two. This is weird doing it backwards. So this one I actually sent to him and had him sign it. It doesn't have it. Well, it has inscriptions. It doesn't have any stats on it though. It just says to Darren, best wishes, Nolan Ryan, which I think is cool. And then the one next to
hmm
it is the one with the inscriptions that I bought at a card show.
Hmm. So we're 43 minutes in. Um, just to kind of put a bow on this, which again we've gone way off the rails at this point, which is okay. Um, when we're talking scarcity, we're talking iconic. You were used to be more of an iconic guy, and now scarcity is more exciting for you. And do you think it's because of the hunt? Is it the hunt, the rush of the hunt is part of the fun, and or is it or is it the actual rarity?
I think it's probably more the rarity. Like going back to my patience thing, like it's the hunt is fun, but I mean, you saw me at Strongsville when the card I went there to get wasn't there. I didn't probably didn't seem like I was having a ton of fun, right? But so for me, the hunt's cool, but if it's more of a I also don't like to lose. So when I see something in an auction, I start bidding on it. I I that's why I don't buy a lot from auctions, right? Because the few things I have bought from auctions, I've set the highest price for that card in that grade every time I buy from an auction because I just don't like to lose. If I because once I start bidding and I get close, I'm like, nope, this is mine. I'm getting it, right? So so I don't buy a ton of stuff from auctions. And yeah, no, I think it's more of it's it's just cool to see it in person, right? Like you could look at a picture of a rare card, on the internet, right?
Hmm.
Or like through a case at a show, right? If you go to, you look, oh, hey, look, it's an auction. Heritage has some really cool stuff. It's under glass. There it is, right? But to have it and physically hold it and be able to sit at my desk and say, look, I'm in between meetings, or I just had a crappy meeting and I'm going to go pull out some super rare card that's super cool and just look at it to take my mind off it, right? So for me, I think that's more why I like it, not so much the chase, because the chase either makes me overpay or wait, and I don't necessarily. I prefer to overpay than wait, but still, I don't.
All right. Well, I guess my only last question I have for you is it is a 1 month from today.
Uh-huh.
When we're recording this. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly when this is gonna post, but
Right.
as we're recording this, it's 1 month from today that the Strongsville show starts.
Mhm.
Um, are your top targets gonna be rare items or iconic items?
Good question. So the stuff on my list are going to be iconic, probably, but I might forego those if I find something there that's rare. Like for me, it's hard to put rare stuff on the list if it's like truly rare, because you don't know. And like I learned last year, if I put something rare on the list and it's not there, and my list consists of one, that don't want to revisit that. But so I probably will have some iconic stuff, and if I see something rare that I like, then I probably will pick that up instead. I do have a card right now that I'm there's an auction happening that I'm bidding on. It's an eBay auction, so I can't get into a bidding war at the very end and just keep going and after and after hours bidding like I can on other auctions where I get a little bit into trouble on it. But if I win that one, then I'll have less money for Strongsville, so I'll probably I don't know if I'll be able to afford to pick up a super rare card.
So,
Um,
last question. You're at Strongsville and you walk into Ash's case and you
okay.
look down and two of the cards at the top of your list are there. But next to it is a really cool card that you've never seen before. The two iconic cards that are on the top of your list, there are going to be others in the room, I'm assuming. Which card do you go for, the card that's at the top of the list, or do you go for the rare card, which you may not have the opportunity to get again?
It depends on the rare card, but I mean, if it's something that I've got, so like we've talked about, right? Like I have a kind of a master list of stuff. If it's on that one, because I've got a lot of rare cards on that one, but I don't put those on the normal list because I might go a year without seeing one. So then I'm unable to complete the list, and then I get a lot of grief from my petty if I don't complete my list, right? So
Right.
if it's on that other list, then maybe I probably if it's an iconic card that I really want, and there's something next to it that is rare, but not. I mean, there are rare cards that they're cool, but I don't personally have as much interest in. If it's one of those, then yeah, I'll go with the iconic one.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one, right? Because I can't give a real good example of that. It's just it's a gut feeling, peer pressure from you guys when you're standing around. I'm looking at them.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be standing next to you for sure. That is the best part of Strongsville is everyone can take a look at everything before, during, and after a purchase. So
Mhm.
that's going to be really cool. All right, buddy. Well, whether we fully covered the topic or not, I'm not 100% sure, but
Yeah,
I
I
know
think we
that
did, right? Because
I, I think so. I
yeah.
think so. I know that for me, and I don't know if this is going to air before or after I show my pickups video for the month, but this month I spent a lot more than I ever would have dreamt I would have spent the month before Strongsville, but I did it. because there were multiple cards that I never see for sale,
Mhm.
and they were available, and I felt like you have to act when you have the chance to act, because you might not have that chance again for a long time.
Yeah,
And
and that's the
so,
tough thing about the show, right? That's a
yeah,
tough thing for me about shows. I wanna have a solid budget when I go to the show, so I typically will cut back on my buying, even if I see a
yeah,
card I want. I'm like, you know what? No, no, no. I want to see what's at the show, and hopefully this be able to find something similar to this one if I don't buy something at the show. And I'm like I just said, I'm bidding on someone. You text me
yeah.
a card at auction, and I'm bidding on that. And if I win it, then it's going to impact my budget. But my friend Billy Ballgame has talked about this a few times on his channel. You can always borrow against future month's budget to buy something in Strongsville.
I I mean, makes sense to me.
Hmm.
If Billy thinks that's true and you think it's true, I'm all in, dude. I'm
Hmm.
all in. I yeah. I felt like I had to make these. There were really three main purchases.
Okay.
One was multiple cards, and I just felt like I may not have this chance again. So what I might have to do at Strongsville is borrow part of the May budget in order to to have my budget for Strongsville. And then what that might do is that might then eat into the national budget. So it's possible that I have to eat into like maybe, August and September's budget for the national. So yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
Borrow
no,
against future budgets to
yes.
bolster your current budget.
Yes, and I'll be honest, this is terrible financial advice, but I definitely have had times where I'll eat into next month's budget and then buy another card. So now I'm eating like 2, 3 months out, and
Yeah.
then I'll go to a show, and, like, I've had times where, like, to be honest with you, I probably shouldn't buy a card for, like, 6 months just on over the last 2 years. I shouldn't probably buy a card
Right.
for 6 months, but that's not fun. So
No. No.
why
You
not?
got to find a way to make it happen, dude.
Right. Exactly.
Kids don't really need groceries.
No. You know what's funny? I made dinner last night. I went to the grocery store to buy the stuff, and I guess we bought so many groceries this month because my wife has a thing you put your phone number in.
Yeah.
They save up points, and I bought all this stuff for dinner, and I scanned it, and then I hit total, and it had all these, like, "You've hit this level discount" things popping up, and it's just like negative, negative. I'm like, "What's going on?" My grocery bill for everything to make dinner for the family of 5 last night, $8.69.
Nice. I mean, what this tells me is if you spend lots and lots of money, that you come out ahead.
Yes, if you spend enough, you get if you're signed up for the right programs, if the more you spend, the better off you are. Now, to be honest with you, if like eBay or one of the auction sites, or even like Ash had one of the, had like a loyalty program, that'd be the only place I'd buy my cards because I'm a big loyalty program person because you do get those benefits.
Yeah, it's really all about the benefits. So,
Yes.
all right, well, there you have it. Another off topic in the books. We will have a wonderful guest later in the month that will be
Yes.
posted on Darren's channel. So make sure that you're subscribed to Return to Collecting,
Thank you.
and that way you can see all of the off topic videos, not just half of them. Um, Anything you want to say in parting thoughts, Darren?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like Greg just said, if even if you don't like listening to me, our guest is awesome coming on. So if you want to get notification that Greg and our guests are going to be talking, you subscribe. Thank you.
There you go. There you have it. All right, everybody.
All right, thanks,
Uh,
guys.
yeah, let us know down below. Do we want to have a code word to prove that you made it to the end? Code word
Um,
is um, uh, uh,
Autograph,
autograph. I was going to go with something
yeah.
like borrowing budget, deficit, deficit,
Debt,
budgeting,
debt,
debt, debt.
debt. If
That's the
if you
one.
watch the whole thing, let us know by saying debt at the end.
Include debt in your response in your
Yes.
comments down below.
And just in case people are new to the channel, this is not an investment channel. We're not giving investment advice. Greg and I are
No.
not professionals at
No.
Greg and I are really not
Anything.
professionals at anything, which is awesome.
Right.
So don't take our advice on buying anything or selling anything.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
enjoy collecting, buy cards or autographs or whatever memorabilia that you enjoy because you enjoy it, and buy it for that reason only. Because if you buy it for any other reason, you're gambling, and that's an addiction, and that's not good.
And don't go into debt to do it.
Definitely go into debt to do it.
All right, guys. We will catch you next time.